Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Duke family and congratulations on your acceptance to Duke. I'm Madison and I'm going to be moderating tonight's chat, which includes several other Duke students who are super excited to be answering some of your questions this evening. To just give you a little bit of a brief overview about how this is going to work, we're each going to introduce ourselves and then you're going to be able to type in your questions about student life and we're going to answer as many as humanly possible tonight. This is going to be super informal. We're just trying to give you a picture of life here at Duke. So feel free to ask whatever is on your mind and whatever just like you think of. I'm going to start off our introductions. Again, I'm Madison. I'm a senior here at Duke. So I'm actually going to be graduating in less than a month from yesterday, which is really sad and also really exciting. I alternate feelings on that. I'm from New Jersey and I'm studying public policy and global health here. So I have a double major. Last fall, I defended my honors thesis on child abuse prevention. I did Duke Engage in New Orleans. I studied abroad in Stockholm and in Paris, so if you have any questions about that. And I'm one of our head tour guides for the admissions office. Next up, we're going to have Andrew introduce himself.
Hello there, friends. My name is Andrew Zhang. I am a sophomore currently, and I am from Ashburn, Virginia. It's like Northern Virginia, kind of close to DC. I am studying public policy with a minor in computer science, and I'm currently in the process of changing my certificate from journalism to innovation and entrepreneurship. But I've taken classes and done research into all of those. If you have questions on that, outside of like academics and all of that, I am super active in the music community here at Duke. I'm in 2 a cappella groups, Pitchforks, Temptations, Go Music, we love it. I also do a lot of like social media, marketing, management, all that stuff, and I am a freelance photographer on campus. This coming summer, I'm going to South Africa for Duke Engage South Africa for racial and social justice. That's the field of policy that I'm really interested in. And this coming fall, I'm actually studying abroad in London. Next up, we're gonna have my dear friend and almost, I think she's gonna be famous someday. Like, I know it, but amazing Sam.
Aw, thanks, Andrew. Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a sophomore. I'm actually graduating next year, though, so technically a junior, or considering graduating next year. And I am from DC, the DC area. I'm studying political science with a minor in theater studies, but the theater studies part is what I really do all of my extracurriculars in. I do social media, I act in plays, I dance sometimes, and yeah, that's me. Next up is Emma, a freshman.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for my voice. I'm losing it. I'm Emma. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm currently studying mechanical engineering with a minor possibly in econ or global health. So if you have any questions about Pratt or any of that type of stuff, I'm here to answer any of those questions. Other than school, I'm involved with engineering student government. So do a lot of community building for the Pratt School. And I'm also in a volunteer group for dance. That's me.
Okay, awesome. So you can see we have a wide range of experiences and we actually already got our first question. So I'm gonna read it out and then someone's gonna answer it. We can always have follow-up questions too. So the question is, just wondering how hard is it to do well academically at Duke for an econ major? What are the test formats like? And there's a question is if a GPA of 3.4 to 3.6 plus is possible. Andrew, do you want to start this one?
There we go. So I'm doing public policy and not econ, but I've taken a couple of econ classes here. And at least from what I've taken, it really varies depending on the professor, because like department-wise, we don't really have like standards of you have to test this way, you have to do this stuff. It's a lot broader and it's up to professors. My professor is Professor Darity. He teaches like microeconomic policy tools. And it's honestly one of my favorite classes at Duke and my favorite class at Duke right now this semester that I'm taking. One, because the professor is phenomenal. He is like the US's leading economist on wealth inequality and just inequality in general in the world. And for me, my class's test formats are 20 true false questions. You pick 15 and just explain why it's true or not. But I know for people who are taking other econ classes, it's like more formula based, others are multiple choice. Like it really just depends on who your professor is and the subject matter. But there are some fantastic professors here in the econ department, and I honestly love working with them.
And I've also public policy major, so I've taken 2 econ classes, a microeconomics class, and then one that was public finance. And with both of those classes, I would say they're pretty problem set heavy. And then we had just like basically long form problems on our midterm exams that we'd have to answer, but it definitely does vary by the class. And one thing that's really exciting too about Duke and a change that's coming in the fall is that Econ 101, so that introductory econ class, is actually going to be pass fail. So I think that'll alleviate some of the stress in your first semester or 2 at Duke if you decide to take that class. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next question, which is from someone who's really interested in pursuing the INE certificate and wants to know what the classes are like.
Hello again. So the INE certificate, it's like I'm changing to it now because it really fits into kind of what I want to do. There's a lot of classes on like social innovation, on social media marketing, how to build a brand, how to build kind of just a better like world of business that actually cares about the people. The professors are so knowledgeable in their field. I know a few professors in the INE department are actual like businessmen, CEOs, entrepreneurs, like business founders who have just, they've been successful and then they've, moved on and they're here to teach us. And the classes are generally like so fun. There are some of the classes that don't make me feel like I'm actually like taking a class. They're super enjoyable. The group projects are actually like not death. And it's been a pretty positive experience. But the thing is, with this certificate, you actually have to apply to get into the certificate program. And that's like essays, just picking your classes, like why do you want to do this kind of stuff. But you don't have to worry about it immediately. You can do that all the way until like the first few weeks of your junior year.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to move on to the next question, which is it possible to rush and tent second semester, so at the same time, because we have delayed rush, without your GPA dropping a solid point? So Sam, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So I tented my freshman spring at the same time that I was rushing both Greek life and SLG life, which we can talk about more later. And I was busy, but honestly, I got more work done in the tent than I think I did in other places. I think it honestly helped my GPA, but I would also say that if you're concerned about it, just try and plan your schedule based on that. It's easy to do. You can just make sure you don't take like the 2 hardest classes at the same time in your spring of freshman year, and you'll be fine. Emma, I think, also wants to add to this.
Yeah, I too. I just lived this, and honestly, I got a lot of work done in the library tent. There's a library tent set up for tenting, and that's where I got so much work done. But it definitely is about time management, and you don't want to take on too much at once. But if you're able to do it and you just plan your time out, you'll definitely be able to.
Okay, awesome. And fun fact, I was a tenting dropout my second year, but then I regained myself and actually tented very successfully this year. So I got my wisdom teeth removed, long story short, but it was an awesome experience. So the next question is about Pratt and whether or not it's a competitive environment or whether it's more collaborative. And Emma is our resident engineer right now, so she's going to answer that.
Oh, this was actually sorry, my voice. This is actually one of the reasons why I chose Duke. I read about this in my Why Duke essay because it was really evident to me that Duke was really more collaborative academically, especially in the engineering school. A lot of our classes are collaborative and team-based. Like there's this new Engineering 101 design class, which you all take as a freshman in your first semester. And you're put on a team with 4 other students, and you design a product for a real client, like a real client. So it's super cool. And even in your classes that are going to be graded on a curve, you will find that everyone is there to help you. All of my close friends are all engineers, and we're all up late studying together and trying to help each other out because we know that we won't succeed without each other succeeding. So we're all willing to help. And I definitely would say Duke Pratt is definitely more collaborative and competitive.
And I think that's Duke as a whole too. I found as a senior, so now just finishing up like my 4th year of classes, that Duke as a whole is very collaborative. And that's part of the reason why I chose Duke as well. So the next question is a very Sam-esque question, which is about theater and if there's a required skill level or if anyone can try out for a play.
So there are so many different acting opportunities at Duke. There is one big theater studies department production in both the fall and the spring. And that I would say is not super competitive because a lot of people, not too many people audition, to be honest. But there's still such high production value and are really awesome. So even if you're not interested in theater, you should go check them out. Also, there's Hoof and Horn, which is a musical group who are amazing and I think is semi-competitive to get into, but there's just such a big group, you probably have a shot at getting in. And then you can audition for DUI, which is an improv group. There are just so many ways to do it. Like right now, I'm acting in someone's cinematography project. I got out my fake highlights. So as you can see, there are many opportunities on campus.
And I actually just saw the In the Heights play, or musical, I should say, on Thursday. It's completely sold out, and it was absolutely incredible. So I'm not involved in theater, but I've really enjoyed watching. So our next question, Andrew is going to start off with, it's actually from a guy named Andrew, so that's kind of funny. And it's, can you explain how the Focus program works and whether you would recommend it?
So I did Focus my freshman fall. I did neuroscience and the law. So how Focus works, most of the time you'll end up living with the rest of your Focus members, and each first year dorm has like a different focus in it. I lived in Randolph, and Randolph is the resident neuroscience and law dorm. I'm honestly not sure where the other ones are, but like each focus does have its own dorm. And when you come, you can pick 2 of the 4 offered classes within the focus, and they're with some like the highest levels, like upper kind of professors who like it's normally hard to get classes with until later on in your Duke career. But like being part of the Focus program, you got to fast track and get access to these. Like I had 2 of my favorite professors ever at Duke, Edna Andrews and Liliana Paredes. I still talk to them to this very day. But like the classes are super small. They fulfilled your small seminar requirement for your first year, and work. It's also a lot for a lot of these classes. It's very much so like essay and reading based, because they are small seminars. And yes, I would totally recommend it. Like Focus, like I have so many friends from my Focus that I still talk to. And with Focus, each group does kind of like a different activity. Every week you meet up and have a dinner. For my Focus, we traveled to Florida and went swimming with dolphins and learned how dolphins communicate. But yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. It's one of my favorite memories from Duke.
And I can follow up a little bit about that. So for Focus, you can apply to be part of a Focus. It's about 25% of students will do it, and then you just rank your different choices. So they're different clusters. I did the Ethics, Leadership, and Global Citizenship Focus, which I thought was absolutely incredible. I took 2 classes. One was a refugees class, which was service learning, and it was with the director of the Keenan Institute for Ethics at Duke, Suzanne Shanahan, who was like an absolute rock star. And he's like became a big mentor for me freshman year. So I actually worked with refugees in Durham and did a tutoring and mentorship program as part of that class, in addition to learning about migration policies. And then the second class was on human rights and world politics. So I took half my classes in the Focus. Felt like I got really close to everyone. It was also like a great way to jump into Duke academics in a seminar environment. I think I became more confident. And also mine was reading and writing intensive. So I think if you decide to do a Focus, I definitely try to balance your classes. So I chose my other 2 classes were more exam heavy, so that it wasn't like I was too overwhelmed with writing and reading, if that makes sense. And then my Focus went to DC for a weekend, which I really enjoyed, and talked to different policymakers and Duke alums. So hopefully that answers your question. There's a really great Focus website, so I would definitely check out some of the different clusters that are available. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next question, which is about pre-orientation programs. If any of us did pre-orientation programs, And if we did, how did we manage the transition into move-in day and regular orientation, since the gap is only 1 day? And actually for some of them, I remember for mine, I moved in right after my pre-orientation program, so same day. And Sam's gonna start us off on this one.
Yeah. So I did P Waves, which is where you go to the beach and you camp out on the beach for half of the week, and then you hang out at the Marine Lab for the second half of the week, which was really cool. I loved seeing the Marine Lab. We went surfing and sailing, and it was really fun. But I also wouldn't feel pressure to do a Prio, just because sometimes it can feel like everyone is, but that's so not the case. And obviously more than almost every single person does not do a Prio. And my friends actually did not come for my Prio at all. So don't think that if you don't do a Prio, you'll come in and like everyone will have their friend groups already formed, because they won't. Some people it does, it's great. And this is where they find their friend groups that last like for the rest of the 4 years. But I wouldn't feel pressure to do it at all.
Yeah, I also did P Waves, and I found it helpful. Like I found my roommate through, for my roommate sophomore year through my pre-orientation program, but it also wasn't like a make or break it. A lot of my friends came from all over campus. So I wouldn't stress out about that too much. So we're gonna move on to our next question, which is about Greek life at Duke and how prevalent it is. And if do we feel left out if you aren't involved in it? And Andrew's gonna start us off.
Okay, so Greek life is not it's not like super dominating over campus. Like there's a pretty even split between like Greek life, independent living, and selective living groups. I am not in Greek life. I am a part of a selective living group, and I personally don't feel left out because we also don't have like a specific Greek row type of thing. And the thing that I love about Duke is that there's just so many other outlets to have like a social life, to have late night fun or that kind of stuff on campus. Like we have an entire community of selective living groups, which can range from like gendered or co-ed groups that you live with, you can hang out with, that you also rush for during the spring. But like for me, I'm also in like an a cappella group. My a cappella group and I, we're so close. Like it's not just music. We do so many things outside. We just hang out. We're really good friends. Like my a cappella group has become my like second social group, and like athletic teams are like social groups. And I know plenty of people who live independent, who aren't affiliated at all, who are just happy with that. Like you can, here at Duke, you can block, so you can just apply to live with your friends, and sometimes you'll literally just be next to each other. So like here at Duke, being in Greek is really not a requirement at all to be able to like have access to social life at Duke. Like it's very open, and I'm personally really thankful for that.
Yeah, I would say you'll find communities that fit with you like all around Duke's campus. So for me, I'm in a sorority, and it's one of the many communities I identify with. And for me, it's become like part of my social life, but not my whole social life. So I think it's been a nice benefit, but not the end all be all. So, okay, we're gonna go on to the next question, which is gonna go to Emma because it's related to Pratt. And it's about how feasible is it to manage an engineering major and also be part of an athletic team?
So obviously I'm not an athlete, but I did have an athlete on my engineering 101 team, like I was talking about earlier. And it's definitely, being an athlete is a time commitment no matter where you are, but definitely is here too. And being in school here is a time commitment, but you definitely are just able to figure it out. And even if you're not an athlete, if you're involved in lots of things on campus, honestly, for me, I found that when I'm busiest, that's when I'm most productive. Otherwise, I just kind of procrastinate. So I think if that's something you want to do, it's 100% possible. I know lots of people who are like on the swim team or really just on any athletic team. If you want to do it and you also want to do engineering, you definitely shouldn't limit yourself. So yeah, it's definitely possible, and with really any activity that you're involved with.
And there are also different levels of athletics, ranging from varsity, which is the most intense form of athletics, so intense time commitment wise. There's also club athletics, so you'll try out to be part of a club team, or intramural, which is, I would say, like the most casual form of athletics, and that can just be groups of friends or dorms going against one another. So there are a lot of ways to be involved and stay active without necessarily feeling like it's a huge part of your time. Okay, so our next question is how feasible is double majoring? And I can start this off. So I'm a double major in public policy and global health. And global health is actually a co-major at Duke, so you have to have another major to pair it with. And I found it to be a really rewarding part of my Duke experience. One of my favorite things about my Duke classes has been finding the overlap between public policy and global health. I realized I'm really interested in health policy, and I ended up writing a thesis on child abuse prevention, which definitely touches both public policy and global health. So I found it to be really feasible and honestly very rewarding. I'd say many students double major, or they'll do a major and a minor, or a major in a certificate, and you're capped at 3. You can't triple major, but you could do a major, a minor, and a certificate. And then you also just will see as you go through Duke what matters to you. So I started off wanting to have a French minor, and I really enjoyed my French classes, but then realized after studying abroad in Sweden, it wasn't as important of a part of my academic classes than it was my first year at Duke. So I made that change. Emma, do you want to talk a little bit about this from the engineering side? Does that work?
Yeah, so it is also possible to double major in Pratt or do minors, whatever it is you want to do. Some really common double majors are BME, which is biomedical engineering, and ECE, which is electrical and computer engineering. It's also really common to do ECE and a computer science. Those are definitely compatible. And a lot of people do minors and different things. And there's also engineering certificates. So if you're interested in aerospace engineering or energy engineering, anything like that, there's definitely lots of avenues so that you can intersect like what you're interested in. So like, for example, I'm also interested in finance and global health. So I'm able to do a minor in Trinity and not just in Pratt. So that's really cool too, that you're able to do engineering, but also tap into your other interests.
Great. So now we're going to do 2 birds with 1 stone. So we're going to do a double question. They're both about transportation. So one person asked, this isn't really about academics, but how is public transportation at Duke and in the surrounding area, so in Durham? And then someone also asked just generally about the transportation system at Duke, and will there be times where they might need a car? Andrew's going to start us off because he's had a car and also has not had a car.
Cool. So my first year, I did not have a car on campus, and I relied heavily on Duke transportation. So we have 3 main campuses: West, Central, East. And to get around the 3 of them, we have we have buses that run pretty often. Our main bus is the C1 East West, and it stops in all 3, and it runs every 5 minutes or so, and then every around 10-20 minutes on the weekends. So I'd say definitely transportation around campus is pretty accessible. We also have like bike sharing services. The campus is pretty walkable when it's like not raining. And yeah, to get around campus is pretty easy. In terms of getting to and from Durham and like just outside of Duke, we have a lot of connecting public buses that have stops all around campus. So it's honestly not too difficult to get out. We also have Uber and Lyft. They're both available here, and they're not too expensive. I know, like, for me, my cheapest trip into downtown Durham has been like $3. And we also have like a bunch of like, they also give like a bunch of like promotions out to help like college students. And there are certain times where students get like free lifts, free Ubers to certain places that have partnered with Duke and Uber and Lyft. And we also have Duke vans, which operate kind of like at nighttime when buses stop running. So like say you're at a science building and the buses aren't running anymore and you need to get back to East Campus, like just on your phone, you can just type, hey, I'm at this location, need to get picked up, go to East, and they'll be there within like 10 minutes. But also having a car, parking on campus is not too difficult. We have a gigantic parking lot called Blue Zone, and there's plenty of spaces. Like it's never fully like parked. You might just need to park like in a further space. But having a campus on car is also convenient because sometimes like now I can just go out, go to Harris Teeter, buy some supplies I need, or maybe for the weekend, I just want to get away from Duke. I'll take a trip to Chapel Hill. And yes, I actually do like Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill's beautiful, has great food. But having a car is definitely not necessary at all. But if you have it, it's just like an extra plus. but really it's not needed. Plus, I'm pretty sure you'll definitely find somebody on campus that you're going to be friends with who has a car, so you can also just get rides with them.
Yeah, and you can have your car starting first semester at Duke. So the second you get to Duke's campus, you can have a car. I actually didn't bring my car to campus until this past semester because I'm living off campus, right off of East Campus actually, and have an off-campus job. So I wanted to be able to drive easily there. But during the times I didn't have a car, I really relied on the buses, which I didn't find to be overly difficult. And I also loved walking through the gardens, especially in the spring for class. I found that to be like a very relaxing part of my day. So I would say it's pretty easy to get all around to Duke's campus. The next question we're going to take, I'm just going to read it verbatim, so I don't want to paraphrase it, is I'm scared of Duke because a lot of students have said that they are unhappy there. Would you say that most Duke students are happy? And Sam, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I would disagree with that. I think sometimes the minority can be just more vocal than the majority. I can't speak for everyone, and Duke is hard. It's not an easy school, but it's so much fun. Other schools that have academics this level are, I don't know because I've never gone to school anywhere else, but Duke's just different in how fun it is and the athletic community we have. It's just a much brighter place than a lot of places like this could easily be. And I'm so happy here. Anyone else want to comment?
Okay, yes, I would definitely agree with Sam that the general mood on campus is actually pretty happy. But like just coming from like it, but that doesn't mean that like people aren't stressed. Like stress is real. And no matter what college you go to, but like especially at Duke, it's gonna happen because Duke academically is just a lot. It's not necessarily tougher, but it's just more intense than a lot of other institutions. And personally, like I've just dealt with a lot of stress on campus because of just, like parental pressures, of just career pressures, and just sometimes me just psyching myself out. And sometimes, it can be a little bit overbearing, but at the end of the day, like the people here on campus, like my friends, my job, my a cappella group, like I'm pretty sure that's the fourth time I mentioned them. But even like the staff that work at our dining hall, the Broadhead Center, the staff that drives our bus, like there's just so much human love and there's just so much positivity in just the general day-to-day operations and people you see that no matter what stress you're feeling, no matter what kind of just like maybe not happy mood you're feeling, there's always like Duke always finds a way to reel it in and just to say, you know what, you're gonna be fine. Like you have all these people who love you. And yeah, no matter how much stress I felt, like I've always been able to, just at the end of the day, I'm just like, honestly, I'm here and I love everything that's around me. And I know I can do it and I'm going to keep going.
So if y'all didn't know, Andrew's in an a cappella group. But on a more serious note, I just want to echo and just say, like, I found that I've made like the best friends at Duke and have had some really incredible mentors, and that's what I think makes the entire experience so worthwhile. And I felt so supportive. Just one example, my roommate Carly, I was studying abroad in Sweden. I was doing job recruiting, so I was far from home and was learning how to do job recruiting via Skype, and I had to practice a bunch of cases. She was not going through recruiting for the same thing, but would Skype me and FaceTime me literally every day to practice cases with me, like really wanted to see me succeed. I think I celebrated her job as much as I celebrated getting my own, and I think that's something really special about Duke too. So we're gonna move on to the next question. Just in interest of time, we wanna make sure we're answering as many questions as possible for you guys. The next one is about computer science and just how it is generally at Duke. This person has heard that the class sizes are pretty large and wants to know what kind of companies recruit at Duke. So Andrew's going to start us off on this one.
Cool. So I love the CS department here at Duke. It is like fast growing and becoming one of our largest, most developed departments. Yes, some of the classes are really large, but it's mainly like CS 101, CS 201, the two introductory classes. And that's a pretty common theme around the rest of the majors at Duke. It's like the higher level class you go, the smaller the classes get. It's just because like they just want as many people as possible to kind of test out the waters and see if this is what they're really interested in. So that's why kind of the introductory classes are pretty big. But even if they're big, like my favorite professor, you have to take a class with Professor Owen. I love him so much. But he makes the class feel a lot smaller and more personable because he literally just runs up and down the stairs of our lecture hall, like interacting with the students and making us like feel acknowledged in the class. You don't know how many times I was called on and I was just like, ask another person. But like even when the classes are big, they don't feel that way because of the professors. So I definitely don't think you have to worry about that. And a lot of the CS classes, like they teach you such like great practical things. Like I've learned Python, Java. Next is probably I'm trying to take the iOS class, but there's just so much you can do with the CS major here. And like I said, it's one of the fastest growing part. In terms of recruitment, I'm going to hand that off to Emma.
Yeah, so first, quickly to add to that, though, similarly in Pratt, there are some big classes, but there's you have discussion sections where there will be like maybe 10, 15 people in a class, and you'll have individualized attention from other people, from the professors who talk to you. And so those are really helpful. I personally didn't want to go to a school with big class sizes, and that has not been an issue for me at all. In regards to recruiting, so for part of engineering student government, each week we have e-socials, which are when we bring in different companies from the area or beyond, and they come and they have food on Friday afternoons, free food, which college students love. And they'll talk to you about possibly what they're recruiting, what they're looking for. So we've had some really cool companies. We had Microsoft, so some really big companies will come, and then also some more local like Durham companies. So there's really a wide range. People are always looking for Duke students to be recruited. So there's definitely lots of options for you there.
And Andrew, I think you cut off when you said the professor's name, if you just want to mention it one more time, just so that everyone got it.
Owen Astrachan, literally amazing.
Okay, I just want to make sure everyone got that name because you seem very passionate. Okay, so the next question is my bread and butter, so I'm super pumped. And it's, can you tell us more about the global health major that Duke offers? So as I mentioned before, I'm public policy and global health is a co-major. So it's designed to complement another major. You'll see that students pair it with a wide variety of different majors. I'd say public policy is really popular as a pairing with global health. Same with biology, because we have a lot of pre-med students will take global health, but then we also have some other combinations like global health and econ, global health in psychology, global health and even English. What I love about the global health major is it's very experiential and very flexible in nature. So for global health, you have a fieldwork requirement. So I actually did Duke Engaged New Orleans as part of my fieldwork requirement. And for a summer, lived in New Orleans, worked at a child abuse treatment and prevention center, which is something I became really passionate about. I think that's really awesome. Something else too about just global health, again, it's interdisciplinary and flexible. So we have a ton of different classes that you can just take in different themes. So you have to take a class that's natural sciences, you have to take a statistics class. There's like several required classes, but I think it can be what you want it to be. I did end up doing my thesis in global health and pub pol, which was an awesome experience as well. But I love answering questions about global health. I think it was a great decision majoring in it, and definitely go by. I think there's like an activities/majors fair for Blue Devil Days, so you can definitely learn more about all the majors there. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the next question before I ramble about global health. And it's, should I stay overnight for Blue Devil Days? Maybe not in Andrew's room because it's really messy. Is there a difference, and will it give you a fuller experience of Duke? And I'm putting Andrew on blast, but Sam will take this one, and then maybe Andrew can redeem himself.
I know Andrew's dying to defend himself, but I'm gonna make him wait just a little longer. I stayed overnight for Blue Devil Days, even though I was an early decision student, and this was back when they didn't have early decision Blue Devil Days. But I wanted to say anyway, and it was the best night ever. It was, I mean, not every night can be like this, but I was in a freshman girls' dorm, and it was Sunday at 10 p.m. And all of a sudden, she says, "It's tea time." And we all gathered in this like tiny single dorm room, and the windows were open and it was chilly, and we were all just drinking tea, like 15 of us in this room. And it was just so nice and happy. And I think sometimes like the little things that happen in the evening when people get home from class is when the magic happens. So if you can stay, I would.
Okay, first to defend myself, that is my roommate's half of the room. Like, if I could turn this computer around, which I can't, you would see how like, oh, okay, it's not immaculate, it's not like the cleanest in the world, but like it's not, ignore all this. That's this side, this forward, you can't even see my room. But you know, learning respect of other people's spaces and learn to deal with people's, you know, quirks. That's what Duke has taught me. But in terms of just adding on to Blue Devil Days, like I came and like Blue Devil Days really solidified my decision of coming to Duke. Like I was a regular decision student, and I was like, do I really want to do it? Should I do it? It's like, and then, but I came to Blue Devil Days, and like I stayed the entire time, and it was really that entire time that showed me, like Duke is the place I want to be. Plus you get cool swag. You get your like Duke 2023 shirt, a Duke 2023 backpack. You get to meet the university president. You get to meet the Blue Devil. And you can kind of just try out like some of the food on campus, scope out campus, and kind of just orient yourself before you actually get here.
And you will be able to meet us because we're going to actually have like a little booth and we'll be giving away swag. So that is important. And also someone commented, respect how messy Andrew's room is. So we're just going to end that there. But next question is, if you aren't involved in athletics, oh wait, Sam, do you want to talk about something?
Just to throw in Blue Devil Days, you may have seen something about this in your chat, but we will be doing a scavenger hunt via our Snapchat account, which involves lots of swag. I went shopping yesterday and bought so much stuff. So if you're not following us on Snapchat yet, type in Duke students, and then you'll see the clues to where to find all this free swag over Blue Devil Days. All right, back to you, Madison.
Also, you should follow Duke students on all social media channels, especially the Instagram, but also Medium, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat, and Spotify, and YouTube, We have a very passionate and wonderful YouTube editor, and she would kill me if I didn't mention YouTube. So, and she does an awesome job. So I'm sorry, Daria. Okay, so next question. If you aren't involved in athletics, can you still find your niche? So who wants to take this one? Sam.
I'm not sure if you mean if you aren't an athlete or if you don't enjoy watching athletics. But I think either way, it's not like a huge part of Duke at all. Our basketball team is huge and everything. And athletes do have athlete friends a lot of the time. But also you find your niche. There's so much at Duke. And when you get here, you're going to want to sign up for everything, which I did. I was in 6 clubs and it was crazy. But I quickly narrowed it down to the things I love. And now I'm like the theater person and I love that. It's great. And you'll definitely find your niche, and it might take time, but that's part of college. Emma's gonna add on.
Yeah, even though Duke has a lot of athletics, we also have lots of arts that you can get involved in. Last night I went from my friend's dance performance, and then 30 minutes later I was at my friend's a cappella performance. So you can find whatever it is you're interested in. There will be something for you at Duke.
Okay, so we're going to go on to a question about dorms. So the question was generally, like, how would you rate the dorms at Duke? And Andrew will start us off with that.
Cool. So we have dorms kind of differ between East Campus and West Campus. On East Campus, you kind of have like 2 different types of dorms. One with like central air conditioning, one with window units, but like they both work pretty well. In terms of the dorms, I would say they're honestly pretty pretty good. The rooms are pretty sizable. The only a few dorms have carpets. Most of them have just, either wooden or like laminate floors. And then almost all dorms have communal bathrooms. So you don't get your own private bathroom. You just have a bathroom for your entire hall. And dorms, at least on East Campus, are typically split by gender. So like maybe floor 1 is all guys, floor 2 is girls, and then floor 3 is guys, or switched. And only some dorms are like the left half is guys, right half is girls. And sometimes they have like a combination of both. In terms of coming to West Campus, there's a lot more like just mixing. There's no separation of gender, still communal bathrooms, and same situation in terms of just in terms of like size. But on West Campus, I believe that most dorms have central air conditioning, and all dorms are in pretty convenient locations, and you'll be able to access like your dining hall, bus stops, library, all of that very easily.
And then in regards to roommates, which is similar to dorms, so all freshmen now will have all random complete roommates. That was the first time that happened was my year, and a lot of people were nervous about it, but honestly, I think it's been the best thing. I have not heard a single like roommate horror story, which I know can be more common when you come in thinking that your roommate's going to be your best friend, and a lot of times that just doesn't work out. I think it's been really great, and I think it's a great way to meet new people and people that you wouldn't have met otherwise.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you for adding that, Emma. So the next one's a really fun question, so I'm excited about this. It's about our favorite classes and our class recommendations. So we're going to each say our favorite class. I can start it off. One of my favorite classes was actually it was a core course for the public policy major. It's called The Political Process of Public Policy Making. It was with Nicholas Carnes, who works in the Stanford School of Public Policy, and he was absolutely incredible. He's actually taking a break and promoting his brand new book, which is so cool. And I loved it because it was very real world. We talked about like how to pitch a policy, taking advantage of windows of opportunity. So I definitely nerded out, felt like I learned a lot more about our political system, but then all the lessons were really applicable. Even like I, for example, went to DC a few weeks ago to get a lease and used some of the negotiation strategies that we learned in that class with a leasing agent. So very applicable. So I loved that class. I think that was probably one of my favorites. Sam, do you mind going next?
Yes. So my favorite is Acting 145 for obvious reasons, but also this class I took, it was a poli-sci course called Immigrants in Exile. And what we did in that course is we talked all about deportation and deportation policy. But what made this class amazing is at the same time that we were in this classroom, we had another classroom in Mexico Skyping in on our classes and taking the class with us, and they were deportees, and it was a very interesting and awesome way of learning. Andrew? Cool.
So I actually have one for focus, one non-focus. So for focus, it's with Edna Andrews. It's neuroscience and the brain, and it's so great. You just literally kind of just learn how language is formed in the brain, and you really get to like dispel a lot of the myths you learn in AP psychology. So it was kind of like the first real step. Like it was the first time I felt like, oh my God, I'm in college. Like it's so cool, and the professor is amazing. But for non-focus, PJMS, Policy Journalism, Media Studies 371 with Bill Adair, News as a Moral Battleground. That is guaranteed one of the most like, you're going to learn the most about just the world from that class, because it teaches you like how to read journalism, how to be a better like news reader, just like how to tell the difference between real news and non-real news. And it teaches you kind of a new writing style, which I think is super important. So it really just teaches you new ways to read and write and how to contextualize that in the world. Emma?
So my favorite class, so every freshman has to take a writing 101 class, no matter what AP credit you have. And so my writing 101 class was called Disability and Representation with Dr. Q. And it was just so enlightening for me. And it also kind of made me realize what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So since I'm a mechanical engineer, I really want to do prosthetics. and I was able to write my final research paper about making prosthetics more accessible for low-income families. And so that I kind of discovered through this class. And I'm actually interviewing for an internship that is entirely based on that mission statement on Thursday. So that's really exciting. And that was something I wouldn't have known without my Writing 101 class. So I think there's kind of some hidden treasures in these Writing 101 classes. And so that's why it's my favorite. So that kind of also leads into the next question for how do you find internships at Duke as an engineering major? And is it possible to find one from the first semester of your freshman year? So there's a lot of different ways in Pratt that you can get internships. We have Tech Connect at the beginning of the year, where it's kind of like a professional like fair where companies will come in and you can interact with them. We also have, like I was saying, e-socials each week where people will come in and recruit. And if you're like me and weren't ahead of the game and do that, then I just sent a bunch of emails out to people. And if you put in that you're an engineering student from Duke, they'll think that's super cool and they'll probably respond to you. And so that's what I did. And so that's kind of how I found this one that I'll be interviewing for on Thursday. So I think some other people are going to respond about how you can get some internships if you're not in Pratt as well.
Yeah, I would say a lot of students will do, first of all, Duke Engage. So you can do, Duke Engage is really founded on civic engagement, and you can do programs that are really community service based and also unpaid internships. So I had an unpaid internship my sophomore summer, again, working with that Child Abuse Treatment and Prevention Center, and absolutely love that. So that was a way that I was matched to an internship. And then this past summer, I worked at Accenture Federal Services, where I'm actually going to be returning next year in DC, which is super exciting. So if you have any questions about that, and I use the Career Center so much, they were super, super supportive of me. And also, I don't think you should ever undercount the Duke Alumni Network. So I could cold call, cold email, talk to people who were like my freshman year intro to public policy teaching assistant who was working for the same company as I am, and just ask them questions, and they were super responsive. So I think that really helps, like having that huge Blue Devil network and that Duke family and getting internships. Does anyone want to add on about internships and just speak about their personal experience? Maybe Sam or Andrew?
For me, I was super duper late to the game. Like I honestly didn't really realize. I was like, oh my God, I have to get an internship after my first year at Duke. What? So I didn't like honestly start looking until like probably mid-March of my spring semester of freshman year. And it was kind of stressful, but my advisor was super helpful and the Career Center was really helpful. And they helped me find some like last minute places I applied to. And surprisingly, I ended up landing an internship in Paris. Yeah, I did a marketing internship in Paris. Yeah, so I started really late, but I still did something so cool. So you don't really need to stress out too much about like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like use your resources, your advisor, Career Center, even just professors. I know a lot of professors have so many connections. Just talk to them. They'll help you out, and just trust the process. You're going to find somewhere great.
And one thing about this too is some students will take classes over the summer. So not every single student will do an internship every summer. So for my first summer, I studied abroad in Paris for 6 weeks and then did an unpaid internship. And then some students I know that year did some classes, especially some pre-med classes, like organic chemistry right on campus, which can kind of like lighten your load during the year. So that's an option as well. The second part of this question was about research. I think that would be great, just kind of lump in since it is academic related. About 50% of undergraduates here at Duke will do research. That's a little tour guide fact for you. And there's a lot of different ways to do research. So there's something called BAS Connections. So BAS Connections is awesome. So it's basically a way to be on a research team and tackle a real world problem. And Sam can talk about BAS Connections more in depth because she did that. I just wanted to jump in about my thesis. So that was an opportunity. I was like supported through taking a thesis class within public policy and had the option to take a thesis class for global health. I had a ton of mentors. So that's kind of the way I did research. The other way I did research is I was in one of my favorite classes at Duke, which I forgot to mention, which was Intro to the U.S. Healthcare System with Peter Ubel, which is one of the hardest classes, but like one of the most rewarding that I've ever taken. And at the end of that class, he matched every single one of us who was interested with a researcher or a physician in the Duke Health Policy Institute to do research with. That was all based on our interests, and I think that really speaks to the professors going above and beyond to make sure if you're interested in research, you can do it. So Sam, do you want to talk about BAS and arts for research?
Yeah, so I'm in a BAS Connections team. It's the Keenan Refugee Project, because like Madison, I also did the ethics focus that worked with refugees. And it's great. We have a lot of funding, which is awesome and lets us do some really cool things. We got to go to DC and lobby Congress last year. And we write a bunch of reports, and we have a website, the Keenan Refugee Project. If you Google it, you can see some of the stuff that we do and what other BAS Connections do. And in related to research, there's also more than like, you don't have to do research in the way that you typically envision research at Duke. They give out a lot of grants for anything that they deem research related. Like this summer, I was lucky enough to get a grant from the Undergraduate Research Support Office to study film acting in Paris. We're all going to Paris. This is crazy. But it's so awesome, and anything can count as research if it's like in pursuit of learning.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to move on to the next question in interest and time, because we have around 8 minutes left. So if you have any, ask your questions, type. So the question is, did any of you enter Duke undecided, and how did Duke help you narrow your focus? I'll let someone else answer because I feel like I've talked a lot recently, but I did enter undecided and didn't really know what I wanted to do. Had a vague idea. My mom says that she called my majors, which I think she did indeed do, as moms know best always. But I did not know. She knew, but not me. So does someone want to go with how to answer that one?
Yeah, I can do it. So I came into Duke undecided. I was like, do you want to do public policy, political science? Do you want to do neuroscience, maybe psychology? I considered briefly like something more like bio, because my mom was like, you know what, I would love another doctor in the family. And then at some point I was like, maybe I should do econ. But then I was like, yeah, no, I need to narrow this down. So I started taking a lot of classes, like my first 2 semesters here. Like my first 2 semesters, I took neuroscience, linguistics, psychology, French, computer science, public policy, philosophy, and human rights. And then from that, like just from taking it, like taking classes is so helpful. Like first year, you honestly don't need to be too stressed out about like finding out what you need to do. Like obviously, if you are totally decided on biology or chemistry with a pre-med track, go ahead. But if you're undecided, like this is your time to just test out the waters. Like I took 8 different classes in 8 different subjects, and they were so helpful in helping me narrow down. Like I ended up deciding, you know what, neuroscience for me might not be the trouble. I'm not that interested in science, neither. Psychology, I was like, I don't see myself doing that. But then like what really stuck with me was like my CS class, my pub class. I was like, you know what, like these are such cool classes. Like I'm want to pursue these more. And going into sophomore year, I took more classes, and they were like, yeah, this is it. And then I declared pub and CS.
From the Pratt side of things, it's similar. You will apply either as a Pratt student or as a Trinity student. So I came in as a biomedical engineer, and just through taking my classes and talking to my advisor, talking to upperclassmen, talking to professionals in the field, I realized that biomedical engineering just really wasn't what I was actually interested in. And recently I switched to mechanical engineering. And so even though in Pratt there is a little bit more rigid structure of the sequence of classes you need to take, you don't have to declare till your sophomore year. So first semester and semester, you do have time to play around and figure out what classes interest you the most and which like really fit what you're interested in. So you might come in thinking you have an idea, but it's totally possible to change. It changed for me, changed for a lot of my friends. So you'll figure it out and it'll all be good.
And you always declare during your sophomore spring. Like that's the latest that you can declare. You can declare a little bit early, so whether you're in Pratt or Trinity, but that gives you time to explore. And I also think it's really nice because we have some class requirements. You have to take, for example, like 2 natural science classes, 2 classes that are coded for social sciences or quantitative science or arts, literature, and performance. So you can kind of fulfill those while exploring and then kind of figure out what you're interested in from there. So we're going to move on to the next question, which I think is an awesome one to, especially to end on with the few minutes that we have left. And I think several of us will answer this one. And it's, what's one thing you wish was more well-known about Duke? Does anyone want to start us off? Sam?
I'll go. This isn't something super specific, but and I guess I've learned this pretty quickly, but you don't have to do things the way that you might feel like you're expected to do them at Duke. I was just thinking about this when we were talking about internships. Not everyone gets internships. I went home my freshman summer and waitressed, and it was great. I spent time with my family, which was nice after a year of being away. And this summer, I'm not doing an internship either. I'm majoring in political science and wanting to be an actress. And Duke lets me do that. And so I wish people knew that you can break out of your comfort zone pretty easily at Duke. Andrew?
So I have I have 2 things, but they're both really quick. So my first serious one is that like I really just wish people knew, like, I guess how many like cool people are on campus here at Duke, not just like students, but professor wise. Like we've had like we have politicians, we've had CEOs, businessmen, like world-renowned attorneys, economists, just like we have so many of these cool figures, like taking what they've learned on the job and teaching us students. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, Emory's so cool, they have the Dalai Lama, or previous president Jimmy Carter, and then or like Harvard has these cool like Duke, we have that too. Like we have such great faculty members. Like you will not be disappointed if you come here. Another thing, a little less serious, I wish I knew just how much pollen was on campus. Like, oh my gosh, we are in pollen apocalypse. The like walkways and little puddles of rain, they're completely yellow. My nose is dying.
Okay, I can go next. I can't really think of one for prospective students, but I think important thing to remember when you get here is that you were accepted for a reason. You were meant to be here. And I think that can be something that's really hard to remember first semester. When you get here, there's gonna be a lot of really talented people, really smart people, but you were chosen to be here for a reason, and you just gotta work on your best, and these people are gonna push you to be better people, and that's all for good reasons.
I think, yeah, I'm going to bend this question a little bit. It's more of kind of like what I wish I had known when I was coming to Duke. And similar to Emma, I think I just had a hard adjustment right when I came into Duke. I was away from home for the first time ever for a long period of time, and kind of at first felt honestly a little bit lost and overwhelmed. Like I was super supported by Duke and the people that I met, but I think have grace with yourself and realize that not every single moment's gonna be perfect, but there's all these opportunities for you to grow and challenge yourself. And I feel like I'm a much more resilient person, a much better student, honestly, a much better friend and sister in all aspects of my life because of my experiences at Duke. So I think that's just something I would keep in mind. So I think, Duke has so many different opportunities, and I've been able to take risks and step outside of my comfort zone, but feel really supported. So, well, thank you so much for that awesome last question, and thank you so much for joining us. Our next chat is going to be on April 27th, which is a Saturday. It's going to be on 7 p.m. Eastern. There'll be different students, so you should definitely tune in. We were awesome, so I don't know how they're going to top us, but there'll be awesome other students. And then if you want to follow any of our channels, we actually have a brand new website that just launched this week, thanks to the hard work of our editor-in-chief, Anya Bali. It's dukestudents.com, and you can find the links to all of our channels there. Okay, thank you again, and have a wonderful night, and good luck on your decision. Bye, guys.